Okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you, God. Um, you know, I see people living a gimmicky, a reality that just even gives me so much dignity. Right now I have problem eating. My appetite, my organs are not functioning enough to digest food the right way. And so these neighbors who thinks that I envy them, that I would like to trade places with them. I can smell the aroma of like this different food that, because it's coming from them, I have zero appetite. There is nothing. I could not even eat doing what they do. I would starve myself. They live is they so like I know there's gonna be horrible things. I already starved out. Then having to live life doing what they do. Um, I know what I mean, right? The goal of the people around me is to try to create an environment where I think that it's anything but this large government doing these things to us. You're gonna hear what they do to children. You're gonna hear the horrible things they've done to some of the most vulnerable people. I'm hearing this trash talking about molest. These people actually molest children using this technology. I see this trash talking to me and she thinks the way she talks, I'm like, trash. I know what you're involved in. You know what you're involved in. There's no torture that's gonna change the reality of what you guys do. Matter of fact, we can't even get a fucking an abortion in Texas because who put me in this program? You can't even say the name Roy Moore. A man that was picking up kids as young as 14 years old, you trash us. In every sign, in every way, you've been shown for what you're part of. These people, they deluded themselves like, oh, we've winner. What did you win? Because the perps around me have created a falsified reality. But I'm not allowing them to live that reality. So what they want to live off is a torture that they think that's going to change the reality of what they're part of. They tell me how you're going to be raped and then tortured. I was like, okay. At least I didn't live life working for pedophiles. There's a problem with pedophilia in this agency. You're going to hear that. I have the people who employ me who, at this point, are perps. The day they employ me, I understood they're perps. The reason why I'm dying is not because of them. I was dying before them. They're just the opportunists that wanted to feel special. Working for this massive government where there's a problem with pedophilia, where they do things to kids. Not only in a program where they do this nastiness via this technology onto children, but the entities contracting these losers, these bottom feeders, have problem with pedophilia. So when I smell their food and I'm supposed to be like, oh my gosh, they're hungry, I wish I could be them eating this good food. It's the opposite. I couldn't do what they do and eat food. I would hate myself. Oh, I don't even want to eat. Hey, can you eat? Their job is like to counter the reality they work for pedophiles. I would starve myself. When I was able to eat, I was functioning. I used to work for this company. I was so unhappy that I starved myself. Because in my mind, I cannot enjoy food. I cannot enjoy life if I'm involved in things that it makes me feel unhappy. I could never feel happy that my job right now is being at war with reality. They are truly trying to stop reality by creating a falsified reality. They right now they have accepted that they sold their soul to pedophiles. They used to try to be comical, like, oh, you're a pedophiles. Awkward as a motherfucker. It is so awkward. It is so awkward because you're gonna hear what they do. The issue with these agencies. You're gonna hear that. You're gonna hear a clear problem that's been coming up over and over and over in these agencies. It's so disturbing that I didn't even know the number, knowing that there's like that level of significant amount of issue with child porn be downloaded by the employees. They will talk about 5,200 freaking employees in this Pentagon. They're on child porn. Only 300 of them were really checked out. Out of the 300, only a few, in single digit, were prosecuted. Now, me, I have this trash that are doing things in my brain. You know what they've done too? They are manipulating my brain and truly conditioning the brain of mine to think about kids in sexual way, where they even try to merge things in my brain in ways that are so disturbing. They are living life. They right now eating food. They live, drinking water, being as healthy as they can. in the same time where their work consists of conditioning a brain of people to think about kids in a sexual way. In this currently, I could not live life that way. I would not be able to eat. I would starve myself. These people are and their job is to like to manipulate people, and they use this retard to like, now we mapped it. They're literally conditioning the brain this ways to break you down. I'm so thankful that I didn't have to leave my conscience onto like the hand of some childlike individuals who's trying to find ways to say things in a way that's going to sound convincing. What I'm saying is, as a target individual, as a human subject, we are used as guinea pigs, where our brain and our body is just tormented and tortured, and they find the most efficient way to break us down. Organs are destroyed, but also psychologically, we are hooked to some kind of device where they can overwhelm us with, or overtake our brain, make us think in different ways, make us react in different ways, memory, like control, complete control. Our brain are hacked, right? And then they are contracted individuals who live around us, who are trying to get you to accept these manipulations. And they use different tactics of trying to sound sincere when we're being manipulated. It's like a gaslighting method. Oh no, we're mapping out. We're not manipulating you. You see? And so, for example, one thing they do, they made me see there was this swimsuit model who is very natural, basically no surgery done to her. And they made me look at her because she was this natural swimsuit model. If you look at my last video about natural, there was this person I follow on Instagram. She's like an Instagram model who, she's not natural. She has things down to her body, but still look like the way she look. They were messing with me with her little sister because her little sister was 17 years old. And the way they were trying to force me to look at this little sister in a sexual way is like, oh no, but she's natural. I was like, well, and? So you see, that's better. I was like, what? And so now what they've been doing, and they even stimulate me, they make me think of this swimsuit model who is all natural. Make me think of the little sister who's like 17 or so. Then try to merge these things in my brain so I can start seeing the little sister in the sexual way that I'm seeing this swimsuit model who's natural. And like, now we just mapped it up. Now you're just merging things together. You've done that to much younger kids. I said, no, we mapped it. And start training your brain in this way. They don't look alike. They don't have, obviously, they're not the same. They don't, like the kids look more like she has baby fat, where this swimsuit model is she's a woman, 100%, very much woman. But they try to create these things to be the same. They don't live in reality. But that's how I prefer them living. Because when you live off a falsified reality, when you create a false reality, reality really comes through. One way or another. For me, I refuse for them to even escape, even though it's not going to change anything. I will refuse for them to escape into any false reality. You're going to be like this and going to try to like dodge. There's a price. You got to understand there's a price. I'm not going to even let you escape from that price. Not even escape. I'm not going to let you escape from thinking that I can delude myself this way. I have no envy from these people who can function, who can see, who can hear, who can think, who can eat, who can walk. Me, who are slowly losing everything, from psychologically and physically and even everything. I would not want to trade places with these people. Those are not the people I want to trade places with. Where life, it consists of doing the things they do. I will never subscribe to this. And you know what they live off? Oh, it's going to rape you. Okay. Can you imagine my life? The happiness, the way I can feel better about me is knowing that somebody's going to get raped. What a miserable life. It's like, oh, no, it's going to rape you. What does it do to you? What a pathetic way of living life. It is the most pathetic way of living. It is pathetic. He's like, no, now it's you. No, now it's what you are. Now you made me a saint, a dignified person. Because I recognize what it is. Okay, I cannot experience myself anymore. You can manipulate me to think these ways, but I know I'm being manipulated. And so what I can think of is like, man, I could have been doing the same thing they do. Thank you, God. And then when I hear people try to find whatever they can do to vilify me, oh, you molested. Try to exaggerate what I did as a middle schooler. While these trash are in a program that tortured babies, molesting them sexually, doing things to them using Department of Defense technology, onto kids as young as 3 years old. And what they do to women? Jesus. Can you imagine raping a woman to the point where she wants to kill herself? Doing this on a daily basis? Raping being raped for 3 years straight, from mild to extreme levels? Nah, I'm not gonna let you escape. You're involved in that. And then you'll die? Please live this life. Please. And then you know what it feels like? Now you're gonna serve because we're gonna frame you. Yes, add to it. To add more blessing to your life. That's what these perps are contracted to do, the foulest things, but they involve in the things that are so terrible that even infants that are as young as 3 weeks old are being tortured in the program they're in. So when I can smell their food, I'm like, ugh, this is the food of people who are involved in this. I haven't eaten. In any other circumstances, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm hungry. I am hungry. But your food, I will spit your food out. I would be like, then eat your food. Eat this nasty shit. I'd rather die. And for these people who employ me, who are perps, try to say, oh, you won't work. You can't even say Roy Moore. I know why I won't work. I understand what you guys are. You hear this trash outside, living this disturbing life. And the way they tell themselves, like, now we are worried. No, you're not. You're a bunch of low-life trash who feel empowered doing these horrible things to civilians. You're contracted by these governmental entities that torture even children. And now you're here manipulating people's brain to try to find ways to make people look at kids in sexual ways. To the point where you're using swimsuit models and then merge the way you see this swimsuit model into this kid. To start picturing this kid in a sexual way. The way you will look at this swimsuit model.
One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.
Washington, the Pentagon's top investigator yesterday vowed an all-out pursuit of any employees who downloaded child pornography, adding that his division would review the 1,700 potential cases that were referred to military investigators 4 years ago but were never screened. Gordon S. Hedel, the Department of Defense's Inspector General, said in a statement to the Globe that his office is working aggressively to correct the mishandling of cases identified in a multi-department government probe called Operation Flicker. I can assure those with questions that my office is conducting an aggressive pursuit of anyone implicated in Operation Flicker and that it is a key investigative priority, Hedel said in his first public statement on the matter. The Pentagon agency has faced intense criticism in recent months for its part of a nationwide child pornography investigation that was spearheaded by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, which has jurisdiction for such federal crimes under its mandate. The Globe reported earlier this week the Pentagon had checked only 3,500 out of 5,200 people who were suspected of downloading child pornography. The partial screening of that list, which was conducted in 2007, identified 302 people who were military personnel, civilian employees, or private contractors. Some of those held high-level security clearances and worked at sensitive intelligence agencies such as the National Security Agency, which eavesdrops on enemy communications. Several also accessed the images on their work computers, a separate violation. Out of the 302 cases, 70 were eventually pursued, and only a handful resulted in prosecutions.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
Able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts, and images in imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
End my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know.
to as malodorants. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted.
Human breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
They would never take my will, and since we all know how the psychopaths groups work with what the TI says or does, then they started during the nights to run some kind of beam where suddenly I've been wakened up at 3 o'clock in the mornings and some kind of voice comes and say phrases, sound incomprehensible, and some other times can actually catch what is saying, it's not my voice, a different voice, and I realize that they are trying to program for me to take it in a way that I won't notice a possible change in my behavior. Of course this is not new, because one main thing this program is out there, is called behavior modification for the undesirable, and that's one of the excuses this groups give for the neighbor TO join, deception. I learned to talk back, in my mind, during the process when I was awakened, and I would say demeaning things, that I cannot repeat it in this blog, you know what I mean. Since they had violated me for so long, I decided to aggravate them with words in my mind. I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to hear is aggravation. For every single second of my privacy that you have taken away. From me and my family. Then said this, the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, so just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them, I usually called demeaning names, and one of them is referring to homosexuals. For me, all of the slaves are misfits, society haters, scumbags, etc. No, I don't have anything personal against them, homosexuals, but as my way to aggravated the slaves, and since they love to use children for the torture and stalking, street theater etc. Especially teenagers for the stalking at close range with an attitude, they are using them during my sleep in the perversion program, and so you can imagine what the slaves of torture are pretending to do to me. In the last days, as today September 9th, 07, anything I do, either watching TV or reading of whatever I'm doing, they brush me sort of say, I feel like I'm aroused all day and I feel the palpitations in my genitals for what I'm thinking, and since the attack comes so quickly, I realized my programming has been set on auto, in their central computers, no handlers could do something like this that quick. What make me realized, the slaves are desperate to get me. Unfortunately for them, they are facing a strong wall where no matter how much their computers EAP me, I know I'm not changing. As I said, I feel like they've been set up a beam where I feel constantly stimulated. I'm talking sexually, like a heat in my genitalia.
A speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic. And they used her to threaten the most torture in me, as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions, despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, ow, and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, ow. I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again. In other sessions, he has also grabbed his crotch and said, ow, while looking up at me.
And have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side. We have all experienced the same type of harassment on different levels. We have all suffered the same symptoms while this harassment was going on. Some of our physical symptoms include severe tooth decay and vision loss. unexplained rashes and burns, severe headaches, mood swings, anxiety, thyroid problems, high blood pressure, heart problems, vision loss and cancer. Two of my children were born premature, which I attribute to this. Our son Dylan, now age 9, was born very premature. He was born at 31 weeks. During her pregnancy, with Dylan, we were being targeted more so than other times. At the delivery there were weird men walking and waiting around the hospital. Right outside our delivery room window, there was a white cargo van parked with 2 suspicious men inside. They were there the entire labor, a delivery. Our son had to be transported to another hospital 45 minutes away. When arriving to the Toa hospital, those same men and van were present. Three of my children have severe rashes that have not been explained by several doctors. These rashes have been present for several years at a time. If interested, I will gladly furnish you with detailed photos of the rashes. Our infant daughter, at 3 weeks old, was diagnosed with Lerner's syndrome. This was after a severe rash appeared on her body after a few days of torture. We were told by a couple doctors to take her home and love her and spend the rest of the time we have with her. They told us she would ultimately die from this syndrome. Thank God that Lerner's syndrome was not what affected our daughter. Doctors are still dumbfounded by her rash and symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured. Recently, I lost complete time. I exhibited the flashing lights. My 9-year-old son Dylan complained about the lights. You will often hear that vision is something that is greatly affected with this type of torture.
So you
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan, and please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
Research. I too believe my experience is referred to as no-touch torture, utilizing defense technologies. Jonathan Marino, he basically predicted all this a number of years ago in his book Undue Risk. I'm asking you to help initiate a congressional investigation. We've all come a long way. This is what is needed. We want to have the accounts of this extreme human rights abuse that's going on in our country documented and heard, all of the accounts. We also need what was done during the Clinton administration, which is a major declassification of some of these documents that are hiding what's been going on. I speak for many when I say we've suffered long enough. My personal experience has been 10 years. I've been vilified. I've been ostracized. I've been tortured. I have burns on my body. I'm an American. I have rights. The answer to the question, the big question today, could it happen today? The answer is yes, it is happening today. It is happening for some of us every day. I am begging for you to help us. Thank you.
You mean as far as the Justice Department feeling me?
Well, in terms of you being a victim.
You mean what I'm feeling?
Yeah, explain a little bit to me how
Sure.
you perceive
Sure.
yourself
Well,
as being?
I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, "How do I know you didn't do that to yourself? How do you even address that?" I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not one, but 2. The one physician said, "You're mentally sound as a bell." He said, "I don't have any idea what's going on with you." When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock of my rectum. I get electric shock up my nose. I've woken up with burns on the end of my tongue. I've had burns on the palms of both of my hands. I vibrate. I vibrate. I can barely hold a piece of paper without quivering. Does that answer your question?
I'm trying to find what's the source of
The source are these exotic weapons. They talk about in 2976, but if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
And in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly. I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
Had, all of a sudden, I had been there like 4 or 5 days, and the use their telephone, so I could make airline, flight, because all I wanted to do was leave Chicago. And so I figured I'd make my plans in a hotel. I didn't think that they could hack the hotel. I was very naive back then. I didn't understand the full technology spectrum or even interest, and all I wanted to do was leave. So I was at a hotel on a relatively high floor, and they had all of a sudden, I had been there like 4 or 5 days, and the night before I was attacked really bad, I noticed a maintenance man about 10 or 11 o'clock at night messing with all of the lights up and down the hallway. And as I'm sorry, I get kind of upset when I think about this because it's really messed up. Um, and my spidey sense went off, and I was really kind of nervous about like what the hell he was doing out there, because he was kind of a sinister, he was real creepy kind of person. So the next night, I believe it was a Friday night, I went to bed. I had all of the doors, all the locks on the door, even the one that kind of like goes over that you can't open from the outside. I had everything locked up. Figured I was safe. I went to bed maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning. I woke up about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, bleeding out of every hole, sick. Someone was in my room, or had been in my room. Food was missing. My dogs were traumatized. I had been obviously sexually assaulted uh, in all the worst ways possible. I got up, first thing I did was vomit. And all I wanted to do was I was just in shock. There was a do not disturb sign on my door, and I didn't do this. And there was lotion all over my bathroom floor. All I wanted to do was just get on a plane and get the hell away from everybody. And I was, very, very sick and in a lot of pain. I had already been denied a rape kit when I owned my house, and woke up, and my hair had obviously been pulled out and there were earplugs in my bed. And I felt like someone had done something. I went to Palos Community Hospital, um, under the directions of a non-compromised police officer who told me that if anything happened, to go right to the hospital. So I did. And I had a compromised doctor who treated me like a third-rate citizen and said she would give me an STD test and a drug test. But she refused me a rape kit. And so I had already been kind of traumatized with hospitals anyway, and honestly just wanted to leave. So I stayed in my room until about checkout, and then when I was downstairs waiting for my cab to come to take me to the airport, because I just was going to get on a plane. I had $10,000 in my pocket and just wanted to leave. There was a young man who had to have been no more than 23, 24 years old. And he comes up to me and he goes, "Promise you'll take me back to my room and I'll be okay." And like was mocking me. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know? And kind of looked at him, and there was a girl with him, a young girl, once again, shocked by how young they were. And she was like, "No, no, 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 like don't do that." And I
life gets interrupted, you have no privacy, like whatsoever. Um, your social life is ruined because you start to feel like you can't trust anybody. Um, because it seems like somebody just put some kind of spotlight on you, and that everybody is not really conspiring to get you. It's more of trying to drive you crazy. Um, it's more of a psychological and emotional attack than anything. And this is the first time that we've spoken out about it, only because I've been seeing a lot of other videos. And I think that it helps to talk about, what's going on, because you may be able to prevent someone else from making the same mistakes that you made. And we made a lot of mistakes. We called the police. That was no help. We left our home. We've quit jobs because of it. We've cut friends off because of it. We've cut family members off. So the only way to really get through something like this is to be able to vent, and to do as much research as possible. For other people that are experiencing this, that are targeted individuals, I would suggest that you start documenting as much as you can, start videotaping, recording as much as you can, because the thing that promotes this is that you can't prove it, and that these people can stay hidden, and that's why it lasts for so long. I'm seeing people that have been going through it since 2005, and they can't seem to get it to stop. But it's because they make sure you can't pinpoint one person. It's everybody. It's all the time, and so it discredits your character and your state of mind, which, starts to make everybody believe something's wrong with you, and then you start believing something's wrong with you. But it's not you, and you know that it's not you. It's just hard to prove. But don't go get, mental health help. Don't see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Most of the time, they're involved too. Your police are involved, your firemen, ambulance, people at hospitals, they're all involved.
Help us end this crime against humanity, which has impacted men, women, children all around the world.
Hi, I'm Wan from Malaysia. My family are targeted individuals. We are victims of cyber torture, and I will not give up. I will fight to the end.
and am a victim of organized
We
stalking,
need this to stop.
electronic
That's it.
harassment, and I'm speaking to you on International Targeted Individual Day. I live in the U.S., in Illinois, and am a victim of organized
We
stalking,
need this to stop.
electronic
That's it.
harassment, microwave torture,
I've been targeted for 9 years.
24/7.
Please become more aware of this crime and those that the crime is being committed against. We need your support and help in ending this crime.
Hello, my name is Wendy Brown. I'm a targeted individual who is living in New Zealand, but my targeting began in California. I'm an American citizen, and the targeting continues in New Zealand. I'm making this video in remembrance of Targeted Individual Day, our third annual Targeted Individual Day. And I'm asking that every honest-hearted human being open their eyes to a crime.
My name is Jeanette. I am 56 years old and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a victim of covert electronic harassment and torture. I am a targeted individual.
Hello.
Why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. It's brutally painful. I have a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, first floor, second floor, 2 garage, backyard, land, everything. Can't live in my house. My neighbors are shooting direct energy weapons through my house. I hold my heart like this. You know why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. Come get me. Oh, Lord, because I think I'm dying. I'm making this video
in an attempt to expose this horrific nightmare.
Hello, I'm making this video to honor the 3rd annual Targeted Individual Day. That's August 29th, 2020. My name is Linda Marie Sharp in Mendocino County, California, United States. I am a targeted person and have been for over 12 years. I am electronically tortured by directed energy weapons.
Hi, my name is Lisa Davis and I'm in Duluth, Minnesota. I am a targeted individual.
Of government could do this. And so anyway, what, my interview with Len, he very well described a typical breakdown script that's used on almost all the TI victims. TI stands for targeted individuals. Some of them are pretty crazy. They have names like Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, and those are the confusion tactics. And when they're breaking down the ego of the human through all the pains and tortures and the verbal breakdown, these are typical CIA torture scripts. I mean, Kubark manual. And they do good cop, bad cop interrogation called Jeff and Mutt. And they go right through the list, right? Just textbook. So whoever the handlers are on the other side of this synthetic telepathy, they're following the handbook perfectly.
2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites acknowledge viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening in the general evil?
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
for his inappropriate behavior of soliciting sex from young girls. And don't forget, he did that while he was assistant DA, the assistant DA.
Today, the mass shooting that occurred in Maine last week, killing 18 people, was the country's deadliest of the year. It may also have been one of the most avoidable.
And the documents show that these warnings concerned his deteriorating mental health, rising paranoia and anger, and they came from pretty much every part of his life. But as we now know, none of those warnings prevented this mass shooting.
Well, Nick, where should we start in the story of those warnings? You mentioned that they go back many months.
I mean, the first time when the local police are really made aware that this guy is a concern is about 5 months ago in May, when his ex-wife and teenage son go to a school resource officer, and the school resource officer calls down a sheriff's deputy to speak with the family. And in that interview, the teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices. He's started to be increasingly paranoid and angry. They also note he has collected about 10 to 15 guns that he kept at a relative's house and brought them back to his. So they're going to the police and saying that he has access to a large number of firearms. I mean, they were very worried about him, and I think what they also were struggling with is not understanding where to get him help and what kind of intervention might lead him to be more aggressive and more isolated.
So what's the response from the local police after the family has this conversation with them?
The deputy has this conversation with the ex-wife and the teenage son and seems to talk to them at length and learn a lot about Card's behavior and his career in the Army Reserves. He was in the Army Reserves for 20 plus years at that point. And the deputy and the ex-wife basically decide that the best place to get help is probably through the Army Reserve. Not understanding where to get him help. Relative's house and brought them back to his. So they're going to ex-wife and teenage son go to a school resource officer, and the school resource officer calls down a sheriff's deputy to speak with the family. And in that interview, the teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices. He's started to be increasingly paranoid and angry. The teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices. He's started to be increasingly paranoid and angry. The teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices. He's started to be increasingly paranoid and angry. Decide I think, largely to leave it in the Army Reserve's hands.
So the police come up with a kind of informal solution to this problem, which is work with the Army Reserves.
I think that's right.
Okay, so what happens next?
So the next thing we know that happens is in July. Card travels with his reserve unit to West Point, New York for an annual training exercise. And there's a very concerning incident that takes place. They're all hanging out together at a motel, and he starts accusing them of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions that comes up repeatedly. He shoves one at one point, and everyone is just freaked. This is one of his takes place. They're all hanging out together at a motel, and he starts accusing them of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions that comes up repeatedly together at a motel, and he starts accusing them of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions that comes.
So you hear this, as I'm saying that they try to mess with me, these common things you've heard before. Matter of fact, as I was recording this, they were trying to counter by making me remember things they made me experience, as this technology has the ability to manipulate you in so many.
Held a delusional belief that he was being controlled or influenced by extremely low frequency, or ELF, electromagnetic waves.
And in his computer files, the FBI found this.
A document retrieved from the electronic media stated, quote, "Ultra-low frequency attack is what I've been subject to for the last 3 months. And to be perfectly honest, that is what has driven me to this."
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. Diane, they never had a chance. And still no answers as to why so many red flags were missed.
So, this is the pattern. They've been pushing people to kill. While these cowards do these disturbing things.
All of our lives are changed by the internet. Well, we are embarking on a path now where we will become the internet. The internet will become us. They will be inseparable. We'll have our storage and everything else all over the place. And when we do that, we have to understand that this is a big responsibility. It's something we as a society, we as the human race, must think about very, very carefully. Because imagine, people can hack your cell phone now. People can hack your computer, and it can be bad. They can steal your banking information, take all your money. They can steal your identity, but they can't really hurt you. In the future, though, if somebody hacks into your head because it's connected to the internet, they can steal you. They could actually steal you. They can implant memories in your head that you don't have. They could erase memories. They could control you in ways that you wouldn't even know you're being controlled.
It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting, disgusting, disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like.
About his time spent here in New Mexico.
As sick as this may sound, I've even had stalkers follow me into church while I was in Las Cruces and in Houston. I've had stalkers follow me into church to harass me.
May had worked as a prosecutor in Las Cruces just weeks before the shooting. In his last words, May speaks of his paranoia and coins himself as a targeted individual who's been a victim of stalking and harassment. He talked about a trip to Houston where he said cars would drive by and honk their horns every 10 minutes to keep him on the edge and agitated.
Father, forgive me for what I'm about to do. Forgive me for all of my sins, past sins, present sins, any future sins.
About his time spent here in New Mexico.
As sick as this may sound, I've even had
makes no sense. You know, it doesn't, I want to be as productive and impactful and accept criticism without feeling there's something behind it. Or there's some, you know, I just want to, I'm okay, I like to be critiqued because that's how you get better. Right. But when I feel like there's something behind it, it's something that's just, you know, then you become defensive.